Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Waste World Podcast. My name is Gage Edwards, and today we're diving into the messy and massively important world of recycling contamination. Whether you're in waste, sustainability, or just trying to make sense of your own bits at home, this episode is for you. I'm joined by someone who's not only passionate about fixing the contamination problem, but who's actually building the tools to do it. Nik Balachandran is the founder and CEO of Zabble, a company using smart software and real-time data to help cities, universities, and businesses reduce contamination and hit their diversion goals. We'll talk about what contamination actually costs us, how Zabble is helping organizations solve it with mobile audits and AI, and what laws, like SB 1383 or Oregon's new EPR system, mean for the future of recycling. Stick around. This one's packed with insight. Enjoy. Nik Balachandran is the CEO and founder of Zabble, a company that is punching above its weight when it comes to technical innovation in the waste and recycling world. With a background in environmental engineering and a serious passion for solving the contamination crisis, Nik created Zabble to give organizations a smarter, faster, and more accurate way to tackle one of the industry's biggest challenges. Nik, welcome to the show. Welcome to Waste World. I'm excited to have you here.
Thanks, Gage. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. It's been 6 years since the last time I was on a Waste 360 interview conversation, and it's good. Feels good to be here again.
Well, hopefully we can make it a little more annual than that, and we'll check in with you. 6 years seems too long. You know, whoever's in charge around here, who's doing this? 6 years is way too long. All right, Nik. You're not a stranger to the industry, but I would like people to understand more about you when they're listening. First thing you want to tell them about yourself, right off the bat, what should they know about Nik and Zabble?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, because I have a little bit of a different background, I guess, a diverse background, if you want to call that. I came from a heavy tech background. I'm an electrical engineer. I did my master's in electrical engineering and BS and master's, and then my emphasis was not electrical engineering like most people know it. It's on algorithms and machine learning, and so I've been in startups pretty much my entire professional career. It started in early 2000s. My first startup that I worked at in the Bay Area, I invented this novel noise cancellation algorithm that's used in many headsets these days. So I'm really proud of that. And then since that, I've moved on to, automating FDA approved clinical data studies for a digital health company in the Bay Area that made these digital pills. When you swallow those pills, it sends a text message to your cell phone. It's like pretty wild.
Wow. Okay.
I'll pause there if you have any questions.
No. I'm sitting here, I'm listening to your answer. I'm trying to be a good host. And I just bought noise canceling headphones and I'm like, wow, that stuff works really well. And it kind of freaks me out. And then I tuned back in, just I was out for 2 seconds. I'm back in. Digital pills you're swallowing. I'm like, okay, something we leapt there, but sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Keep going.
No, yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight is the type of experience I've had, right, from noise cancellation to digital pills, and then I moved to an environmental air quality startup in San Francisco where I worked on developing algorithms to understand the relationship between air quality and human behavior, and really that's when I started noticing waste, because in a building you had these BMS systems where you could look at electricity, gas, and even air quality at that point, but not waste. And so that got me thinking about waste a whole lot. This was back in 2015. And at the same time, I was training for an Alcatraz swim in San Francisco Bay. I'm an open water swimmer. And I was swimming in one of these training swims, and I swam into a pile of trash. I still remember plastic bags and snack wrappers. And I was like, whoa, okay, I got to use my background in tech to really figure out how to make measurement, easier, and how to kind of bring this technology that was back then, we weren't talking about AI, but it was always on my mind, like, how do I bring machine learning, right? And then, kind of build these closed loop systems to inform the right folks at the right time. So that's always been our premise, and that's been our driving force. But that's kind of my background and what led me to this industry.
So that pile of trash you swam into, that wasn't someone's leftover raft from Alcatraz, right? Like no one escaped, and you're like, I ran into their leftovers here.
No, it was just, go ahead. Sorry.
I was to say, well, cool. So that kind of brought us into the world of waste and contamination. And that was a great background on what before Zabble. I have a quick question. Zabble, the name Zabble, what's the story behind the name? Where does this come from?
Yeah, it was very interesting, right? Because back in 2016, when I was, dabbling in this space, a lot of our early customers were pizza restaurant owners in San Francisco, and San Francisco had a zero waste goal by 2020 back then, and so we were really trying to figure out how do we get these mom and pop kind of restaurants closer to that zero waste. And a lot of them spoke Arabic and they kept referring to trash as Zabelle, Zabelle, Zabelle. And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. We didn't even have a name back then. I was just like, I want to do something, right? And then at the same time, I was trying to do some research, like what's a cool name for a company? And I found these folks, Zabble in Egypt. There were these bunch of kids that would pick up trash in Cairo in the early 40s, and they were known as Zabble, and they would build these sort of local markets for most of the waste that they collected, and then even figured out how to raise pigs to consume organic. So they really had it down. It was informal, but they really had this closed loop system down, and Zabelline and Zabelle and kind of something, rang there. And I was like, well, why not Zabble? It sounds like Google Zabble,
Yeah,
five,
I think
six
it
letter
rolls
word.
off the tongue. I think it's pretty cool. But I think Zabble, I'm like, yeah, that's a nice word. Zabble's just fun to say anyway. So I think, it kind of rings in my head too. All right. So now that we've named the company, let's give a snapshot of what Zabble does with cities, universities, businesses, handling contamination in real time.
Yeah, so our mission, like I said, it's to help organizations like cities, campus-based generators, hospitals, universities, office buildings, haulers even. We want to help them get to zero waste by delivering real-time actionable insights using AI. That's always been our North Star. So we work across the waste management value chain from jurisdictions, making policies, and wanting to understand the effectiveness of those policies, and universities and corporate campuses who want a better understanding of how waste is generated or flowing from the point of disposal to hauling, and how to better manage those programs, and sometimes even to understand purchasing decisions. And then haulers who we work with, they want to optimize their collection operations and conform with regulatory requirements like California's Senate Bill 1383 or the Oregon's RMA, and on behalf of the city. So we've sort of constantly heard from these groups, and we've been working with them, over the years, kind of staggered how we've been able to find value in helping these groups. But really, the lack of data and insights was the main reason, and so everything led to this efficiency in a waste measurement platform. How can we quickly get some information and then close the loop with and making that process more efficient and informing the right stakeholders? So what we did was we developed this tech platform, which is entirely funded by the US EPA. We've received 4 awards since 2021 to kind of iterate and build this technology, bring AI. Back then it was MRFs and robots and MRFs and AI. And we were like, why can't we just, bring it into someone's hands and right then and there, right? And so we built these back in 2019. We built mobile tagging and invoice analytics. These are the 2 products of the Zabble software, Zabble Zero software suite. And then, to help with the quantification of operations from the point of disposal to hauling. So that's our goal. And so just quickly on the 2 products, mobile tagging is a mobile and web-based platform for tracking a bin's fullness and contents using AI without needing any internet access. You just take the phone, point it at the bin, it automatically characterizes how full a bin is, points out the contaminants in real time, and then engages stakeholders with real-time notifications. And then we also have a way to send automated mailers to kind of close the loop. And all you need is a mobile device. And we have a patent for that. We have the patent because we were the first to use AI, computer vision AI, to characterize a bin's contents from a mobile device. And so we're trying to make bin inspections faster, more efficient, safer. And whether it's a bin, a bag, or a dumpster, really doesn't matter. And we're helping, save a lot of time from our clients and giving them really granular insights, hotspots, on contamination, understanding their operational issues, and then helping them with regulatory compliance. So that's mobile tagging. And then invoice analytics is a web-based transcription of invoices, of hollered invoices, whether it's in PDF or spreadsheets. Our clients typically upload that onto our platform. on a monthly basis, and we have an AI that extracts valuable information, key information from there, like pickup service levels, the dates, any extra fees, container sizes and volumes, compactor data, and then aggregates all of that and gives them insights into, are there opportunities for right sizing? Is your compactor weight dropping over a period of time? Can you reduce the number of pickups? It automatically kind of takes that into context and gives them suggestions and flags billing inconsistencies. So sort of, that's if you get a sense for it. So point of disposal to hauling, what are all the little things you need to know to efficiently run your operations and manage your waste programs? And now we're also diving into truck cameras, and we're providing a software solution for truck cameras for jurisdictions and haulers to leverage our AI models to then detect contamination at every pickup. So we're kind of spanning the entire gamut in terms of disposal to hauling, and we're just learning as we go, and we're kind of just building and having fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, you knocked out a lot of what I had to talk about here. So we're going to kind of roll on to some more stuff. That was great. I really, we've seen the explosion of AI in the industry. And I think the more that there is, the less guesswork for customers to do, the easier it is on your MRFs and your trucks, and kind of streamlining the process so we can just kind of rule out contamination before it even really gets going. Like you said, like, it was in the MRFs, but like if we can stop it at home, we don't have to worry about it getting that far and still missing it. So yeah, that great answer. You're natural at this, Nick. I appreciate it. Like I'm trying to think common challenges across the sectors when it comes to contamination. Like what are we seeing? What's holding us back? Is it just that people don't know what they're doing with their waste? Is it a lack of effort or resources people have before when their stuff's thrown out? What are we seeing?
That's a billion-dollar question right there. I wish
Yeah.
I wish I knew the exact answer to that. Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's you can't just blame the folks that are having to make the decision to dispose of items, but it's also sort of the entire ecosystem. What sort of messaging are we providing to them in terms of like packaging? Is it consistent from one state to another? It's all over the place. The color coding of bins, the signage, having to communicate to different diverse groups in multiple different languages. I think all of this kind of adds up, and we're seeing that manifest itself in terms of contamination. So you've heard stories like, 1 in 4 items in a bin is contaminated, 25% contamination from some of the big haulers that they've posted this data. And so I think it's a combination of all of this. And so we're now starting to see policies kind of tighten up. Some, you've heard of EPR, you've talked about it in one of your podcasts, and I even saw that. It was amazing. And so I think, we're starting to see this groundswell build up in different states. 7 states have passed EPR laws, and Oregon's the first. They just went into effect, a couple of weeks back, and I think we're going to start to see a little more sort of standardization of information, and that's going to help people figure out how they can be a part of the solution and feel good about it. But the point is that there's a lot of confusion at the bin in terms of packaging, in terms of when can we dispose of items, what are the best use by dates, all kinds of stuff that confuses the users.
Yeah. So are we seeing like is the data that Zabble is that you said you're doing, is it mailers to customers or is it to
So we do a bunch of different things to communicate that
okay.
information. So it's once you capture the contamination and participation data, and it's different for
Sure.
generators, campus based, whether they're looking at stuff inside the buildings or on loading docks or on campus, versus jurisdictions that are wanting to get a sense for how are their residents and businesses interacting with their bins, right? And so some of it is for the jurisdictions. Most of it is driven by legislation, is what we're kind of supporting and what we're seeing. And for generators, it's mostly, they have zero waste goals and they're trying to really get ahead of, folks in their industries. But yeah, it's just once you gather this information on, how full a bin is, what's being tossed into those bins, should it be there or not, and some of the other operational issues around, are they using the right lids? Are they do the bins have signage? And then using that information to then figure out, do I want to reach out to them again? How do I want to reach out to them? Do I want to send a mail mailer? Do I want to send a real-time text notification? Do I want to send an email? Which channel are they going to respond to? And even that, I think, is all over the place, right? Because some folks don't look at their emails, depends on their demographics, right? So you want to figure out all these different ways to kind of reach out to folks on social media. And so we're not, we're basically trying what we can in terms of the control that we have, sending notifications in real time, being able to create those mailers for jurisdictions and being able to automate that. So some of those ways to reach out and track that information. So of all the folks that you've actually gathered this information at the bin level, how many did you call? How many people did you email? And is there a correlation between that and the reduction in contamination? Things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was curious on how like that feedback is turning into like actionable change for customers. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've seen, for instance, for our most recent study that we did with the city of San Jose, I think that was
That
a
was my next
highlight.
point. You are transitioning super well. I was about to go, tell me about the San Jose pilot right after this. So let's go. Let's get into it. Let's dive in.
Okay, well, yeah, we have a couple different case studies. I'd love to touch upon San Jose and
Yes.
UCSF. So I'll start with San Jose. They ran this humongous single family recycling contamination monitoring study last year, and they're still doing it. And so when we worked with them, they inspected about 60,000 individual carts, using the mobile tagging platform to streamline their lid flip process and using AI and the real time aggregation of data to help sort of plan those logistics, because that is a serious project, and you need people to really be on top of those metrics to hit those numbers with the number of bins inspected per day and per week. And so what they did was, they ran that beautifully, and then they implemented these three clever strategies. They introduced larger garbage carts to help folks, potentially if there's overflow in recycling, maybe they can use the garbage carts. They introduced educational lids. There some clear signage on the lids itself, and then they had these card tags, oops tags and good job tags. When someone's doing the right thing, you want to give them a little a boost there for doing the right thing, so they leave a good job tag. And when someone's not doing the right thing, you kind of educate them with, hey, this shouldn't be going into this bin, right? And so they did this over a period of a year, and it was just, the results were surprising. Now we worked with several other folks, in other sort of cities around the country with these card tagging projects, but this one was unique because there's three different interventions that were tried, and they actually measured all of them, and they found that collectively contamination went down by 20%. Right. And it was, and that was staggering. That was astonishing to see. And they measured it. They did a pre and a post waste characterization study. And so this was actual waste data for every route that was bags sorted at the MRF and measured, right? And that's how they knew it. And and they proved it beyond, it was, statistically significant results. And they also found that the more the carts were tagged on a particular route, there was a high correlation to a larger reduction in contamination. And there's many different sort of reasons as to why that could happen. Maybe your neighbors saw other folks being tagged, and that helped them, reinforce the point. But it highlights the effectiveness of tagging and reducing contamination with multiple different factors. So we hosted a webinar with them last week, and the opening remarks were from Cal Recycle, the state authority in California. It was really exciting to see them live kind of present these results for the first time. And I'm happy to send the link of the recording to you and any other folks, the listeners, if they're interested.
Sure. Yeah, send it to me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put it in the YouTube description down below so everyone can kind of check that out. Going back to the good job tags, if someone slipped like a $20 bill in there, I think I would be at 100% every week. I feel like just give me a little incentive. Like here's a 20, spot me a 20.
I think you might be onto something there, right? Incentives are key, and I think we haven't yet leveraged the power of using incentives to drive recycling behavior. So
just spot me a 20. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go get lunch for the family this week. It's funny because like I do these interviews, and a lot of the AI stuff's always kind of what I hang my hat on when I'm here at work. There's another AI tool we've talked about before that like they almost like not put down the user when they throw away something incorrectly, but they're just like, really, you couldn't read the sign? Like the machine will say that to them when they mess it up. So it's like everyone's trying to find these little fun little ways, be like, all right, interact with this the right way. So like the oops tags and stuff, I think that's nice. For me, it is. If I got an oops tag, I'd feel like shit. I'd be like, oh, damn, I'm sorry. Let me change it up.
Yeah, and the key there, I think what you're onto is messaging plays a role, right? And
Yeah.
so I think just kind of putting someone down for something that they're not used to, maybe seeing it for the first time, may not be the best approach. So there's again a series of a sequence, like an email sequence, right? Like what does that look like when it comes to messaging
Hmm.
marketing for waste and recycling, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we're scratching the surface as to what sort of messaging, empathetic messaging, kind of, connecting with neighbors, social messaging, like what sort of messaging is actually going to help different folks react to the wider sort of purpose of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, if the email said, "Hey, get free minor league baseball tickets for cycling correctly," I'm down.
Yeah,
We
gift
need people
cards,
in the
yeah, that's
stands.
huge.
All right. So let's talk a little policy now. So we're looking at SB 1383, a little bit of the Oregon stuff. So legislation like SB 1383 in California is changing how cities approach contamination, tracking and reporting. What are your thoughts here? Let's dive into a little bit of that, especially someone in California yourself.
Yeah, so we've sort of been closely following the Senate Bill 1383 in California. That's sort of what got us off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It was another EPA award that we'd applied to and received to help build out sort of that part of how we could support that legislation through our platform. And so we're seeing, there's a part in the legislation that calls for contamination monitoring every year. Every jurisdiction in California has to go out and measure contamination. There's multiple different ways they can do it. Card tagging is one of them. They could also do it at the MRFs. But that's sort of like, since it's already in the legislation and everyone's trying to do it, we're seeing like different jurisdictions react in different ways, right? Like we're seeing some folks are like, yeah, I'm just going to check the box. And some folks are like, yeah, let's really go out and use this as an opportunity to make a difference. Let's connect with our community. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the key here is you're not just looking at it from a checking the box perspective, but you're like, hey, this is my chance to actually reach out to that resident, get some feedback, get some sort of some reaction from them. Is it good? Is it working? Is it not working? And so it's different ways to compute that, right? There's you know the actual impact metrics. Is contamination actually going down? Are we actually helping? Are we seeing the instances of cardboard in landfill bins going down? Are we seeing an increase in on cardboard in recycling bins? Are we seeing a decrease or increase of food scraps in the organics bins, because the bill was written for organics? And so are we seeing increased participation in organics? So kind of looking at those metrics, versus are they actually, are they satisfied with it? Is there any negative reaction to this? Are they responding to this well? Sort of putting all of that together, I think it's really helping some of those jurisdictions engage with their communities and really make a difference.
Yeah, and then so we think other cities are they trying to get ahead of this because of the madness that's getting into full swing here. What are we seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, California is now coming out with SB 54, which is the
Mm-hmm.
EPR law, and that's still in the works. But what we're seeing now in Oregon, which is we're really excited about, is I think they've it's the first state in the nation to go EPR
Yeah.
and for paper and packaging, and so took in effect July 1st. And I attended the conference last month, and it was like super positive
Okay, good.
in terms of people wanting to see this roll out. They were a little anxious, but I think the legislators were saying it's not a light switch, but it's a phased rollout. So, you can, let's figure this out. Let's do the right thing. And so, again, that legislation has a portion for eligible activities that contribute to contamination reduction, such as, mailers, signage, technical assistance, card tagging, truck cameras. And so there's a $3 per capita for each jurisdiction that's allotted towards these activities. And that's where we see ourselves, being a part of the solution, really trying to help them kind of meet their compliance requirements, but also using this opportunity to go out there and sort of make this process more efficient, card tagging and truck cameras. And that's why we're sort of getting into that space as well.
Cool. Yeah, and now again, you're the perfect co-host. I'm about to move into truck cameras and technology here. So we're diving right in. You're helping me with my script so well. So are there technical and regulatory challenges for these truck cameras for AI in the industry? What are you facing out there when you're with Zabble and trying to get some people on board, or even trying to expand what you're doing?
Yeah, so I guess so your question is, how are there any sort of roadblocks and sort of things that we're seeing in terms
Sure.
of
You got any
tech,
pain
right?
points? You want to dish about?
Yeah, let's mute it for a second. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, we always get asked about privacy, right? That's like one of the key things. Like, I think there's a little bit of hesitation in terms of maybe either jurisdictions or the sort of collective, their representation of their people or their constituents. Like, I'm a little paranoid about the government knowing everything about what I'm doing, and so I think from our standpoint, we've been able to kind of build our technology because we use computer vision. We're only looking at the objects, we're only looking at the packaging, we're looking at the material. We're not trying to extract anything further than that. We don't know and we don't care about any of their personal items or extraction of textual context and things like that from the data. We're just trying to help understand what is being tossed into the bin, how are folks participating with that bin or engaging with that bin, and then how can we help them get better. And so most of the questions are sort of kind of thwarted by that response saying, listen, we're not here to extract this information, nor are we trying to sell it. Our contracts always talk about, they mention very clearly that the data belongs to our clients and we're licensing it off of them in order for us to build the right services and provide you the right services. So we're not trying to like sell the data. So I think a couple of things that can help kind of alleviate folks' concerns. But I think in technology is not a barrier anymore. It's actually now a force multiplier, right? We're already past that stage where folks are talking about AI. Now it's being used and
Yeah.
there's feedback and people improving and there's newer folks coming in and we're just collectively building these transparent systems for people to really trust that recycling and organics and is a great solution to send less waste to landfills and extract less virgin material.
Yeah. I think just in my mind, I feel like people are more trusting of like technology when it comes to things that are helping the universe, but like they'll look at their phone and be like, the government's going to take all my information. I'm like, well, you've had 2 cameras and a microphone with you for the last 10 years. Like they got what they want,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you use one of the, all the big tech, services. So,
Yeah. I mean, me and my wife
uh,
last night, we sat down to watch a movie. I put the movie on, I tell her the name of it and she gets on Instagram and she's got an ad for it. Like that's where we are. It's
e-
happening.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, moving into my final section here. Zabble represents a blend of this passion and precision, tech meeting purpose kind of thing. What does success look like for you guys in the next 5 years from now? What's that space look like?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
What do you
I've
want?
been
What's the big dreams?
I've been wanting a lot of things for the last 10 years,
Sure.
but I think we're trying to make our own destiny or we're trying to create our own pathway in this industry. And we're trying to build a transparent world where people know that AI is the future and AI is already here. And now the
Mhm.
question becomes, how do you grab the bull by its horn and then sort of try to really figure out how to direct this conversation in the right direction, right? And so it's what we're seeing is those that the clients that we work with, it's from Oakland to Stanford, UCSF Health to Republic Services. It's those that are sort of proactive, that are embracing the AI-driven solutions. Now before compliance becomes crisis management, because invariably I think we're headed to this point where resources are going to be constrained and there's a point of this point of singularity. You might have heard of that in when robots are smarter than humans and they've taken over the world, right?
I've
Terminator
seen Terminator.
stuff.
Yeah, I love that movie.
So what's that point in our industry, right? What is it called? And maybe you and I can coin a term for that, Gage. Uh,
Uh,
the point of something, right? Point of, I know I put you on the spot there,
oh
but
man,
uh,
I didn't write this down. Recyclotron. I don't know.
exactly. So I think, there's a point of no of turning back and I think building the right infrastructure today is going to determine how we future-proof ourselves for this new world order that involves legislation, no doubt about it, EPR, stricter zero waste goals for, campuses, businesses.
Mhm.
And so that's where I think where we're seeing this going. And I'd love to talk more if there's a few minutes. I'd love to mention our work with UCSF and kind of
Yeah.
share what we do there because it's really important to we're seeing we have this unique sort of position in this industry where we're seeing sort of seen the value chain from the point of disposal to hauling, right? So we've seen the folks making the policies, we work with them. We've seen the folks, how folks are interacting with those bins, whether it's in a residential or a commercial perspective. We work with haulers who pick up the bins and take it away and collect it and what they're doing with it. So we've been able to kind of figure out how to position messaging and our product in different ways to help these guys. And so one of the things with what we did was really interesting with UCSF is so they've again one of those universities we worked with since 2019, one of our early customers, pioneered our work with them, and we've helped them in a variety of different ways. So they've sort of embraced both our products, invoice analytics and mobile tagging. We started working with them, when their diversion was high 70s, 70%. And then they've been wanting to implement programs such as daily monitoring of several buildings on multiple campuses. They were trying to reduce e-waste contamination. They were developing a lab plastic separation program, but they just couldn't do it without technology. And that's where, working with us with mobile tagging, they were able to get these programs up and running. They were able to reduce e-waste contamination by 40%. They were able to keep their lab waste contamination under 5% to daily monitoring and outreach. Like that's what works. And they've been doing this for academic buildings, lab buildings, office buildings. And then overall, they've seen a 2x return on their investment because we saved them more than 90% of the time compared to their pen and paper methods that they were using before to document contamination daily in their buildings or transcribe invoices from their PDFs and from the haulers. And so we've been able to cut out all of that, right? So it's not just about sending less waste to landfills, but it's also about being efficient, empowering folks, and making them feel like their work is actually meaningful. And so the amazing thing that came out of that was this sampling project, right? So we were funded by the city of San Francisco a few years back to go out and really measure, understand sampling from the standpoint of, everyone has this question, how many bins should I actually look at before I really know what contamination is about? Do I need to look at every single item being tossed all the time? And the answer was, let's find out, right? So we went out, we did this study, a 6-month project. We were measuring 30 bags in 5 buildings every single day. And we looked at what point are you not getting any more information on contamination or contaminants? And we found that, there is a scientific way to do it. Statistically, you can figure out if you actually need more, if you need to look into more bags. And we found that, there's a number and it depends on the type of the building. It depends on where you are, it depends on your contamination and the variance in the contamination, right? If you're like all over the place in contamination, you need more bags to look into things. If you're always the same, it's the same amount of materials produced and the processes in the building are the same, then you need fewer because it's a very stochastic process. So we looked at it and we figured out there was 5 bags per day for 5 days that you had to measure, and you knew everything that you wanted to know for a month from just those 5 days, right? And so this replaced their typical waste characterization studies, and it took them 80% less time than if they had to sort and sort of weigh and measure and things like that. And we've since been able to emulate that in multiple different large tech corporations in the Bay Area.
Wow.
And so we're really proud of that work.
Yeah, I would be proud too. I think if more people had this kind of passion, this kind of involvement, we'd be like those pictures of perfect futures. We'd kind of be like, we would be right there, I feel like. Well, cool. Nick, I appreciate you being here. I'm going to throw it to you. If you got any last, here, the floor is yours. What's any final thoughts, anything we didn't cover today? Do you want to hit on real quick before we wrap up here?
No, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me on.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Great conversation. Like you said, we should probably do it more often and just, have some good casual, brain chats. I love the platform you've created. So really, it's great to kind of see everything come to fruition. Like we said, we've been working with a diverse set of clients, and we've seen sort of multiple different points in the value chain that we've been able to contribute. And I think just for folks to be more proactive now is going to help them save a lot of time and money in the future. So being able to benchmark where you are in terms of your diversion rates, in terms of contamination, in terms of how much time is it taking for you to understand your existing operations, and and being able to enact or impact behavior change, being able to benchmark that, figure out that where you want to improve. And I think embracing some tools to help you get faster so you can spend more time doing the things that make sense, which is engaging with people, because it's ultimately the people that you're trying to communicate to, whether it's in the buildings, whether it's with cities, residents and businesses. It's people. So get the data, then figure out how to communicate with them, keep closing the loop. That's what I would say is I think going to be the key. Yeah, if you're interested in learning more about how Zabble can help your operations, reach out to team@zabbleinc.com for a demo, and we'll be thrilled to help you.
Yeah, that was my next thing was to say to go to zabbleinc.com for more information, but that you nailed that too. Man, do you have this script in front of you? Did I share this with you? I don't think I did. Well, cool. You also said keep closing that loop. I think keep closing that loop should be like a good t-shirt somewhere for the recycling industry. So someone can have that idea. That's a free one.
Stay calm and close the loop.
Close the loop. Cool. Well, Nik, hey, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Gage. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. This was great.
Big thanks to Nik for joining the show and giving us a look behind the curtain at Zabble's work. If you're in the waste, recycling, or sustainability space and you're not paying attention to contamination, you're probably leaving money, time, and impact on the table. To learn more about Zabble and how they're helping organizations across the country reduce contamination and comply with new policies, head to zabbleinc.com. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow, rate, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to it. Hit all the buttons that are involved with the Waste World podcast. It helps bring on more voices like Nik's and keep the conversation moving forward. Thanks for listening, and remember, it's our world. Let's not waste it.